Good evening and welcome to Crossroads, our webinar tonight. And we're happy to have you. It's going to be a great evening. We have hundreds of, well, hundreds, I mean to exaggerate. We have many volunteers that help us with Crossroads, and it is a wonderful organization, and we're going to have a great evening of speakers. And let me just give you an idea of some of the things that you will hear tonight. We have a testimonial from a past Crossroads participant. We have a presentation on emotional intelligence. We'll have some, I'll give you some the resources that are free through Crossroads at the end. And I'm going to start with an introduction right now, and then we'll end at 8:30. So welcome. And this simple Bible verse from Deuteronomy 31:6. Be strong and bold and have no fear or dread of them, because it is the Lord your God who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not fail you. He will not forsake you. In job search, we have to be bold, and we have to be strong, and it's really of comfort to know that God will be with us all the way, and it makes a big difference in our job search if we walk with Him and do a great job of cultivating His while we're trying to get through these tough times. So remember that. And really draw strength from Him walking with you. So let me get started with a prayer, and then I'm going to show you what to expect, and then I will introduce the first speaker. Dear Lord, thank you for being with us tonight, bringing us this medium through Zoom, and allow us to have these speakers that will help us in our job search and our transition. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. So let me just quickly share my screen with you to show you let's see. Okay, so I'm going to start off. I've started off with this brief introduction. I'm going to introduce Ruth Wiedstedt and her Crossroads career, or Crossroads in her career, and then I will introduce Molly, and she'll go from 7:15 to 8:15, and then I'll close with the overview of Crossroads. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Ruth Wiedstedt, who I've known for some time, and she's going to tell us about her career, Crossroads, and what she experienced during her job transition, Crossroads, and hopefully you'll get to know a little bit about Ruth and the things that she experienced and was able to really work through as she experienced Crossroads. Ruth, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Let me unshare. Oh, stop. That's probably there. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. Well, hello, and thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for having me. My job search, it seems like it was a long time ago, or I should say being unemployed was a long time ago, but it was just 2 years ago in March of 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, I interviewed and hired and began working all remote. It was a coup, and it was a process to get there. It's become my mantra that if I'm not always in job search, I'm networking. For me, that's one of the hardest parts, and I keep learning it over and over again, that yes, I need to continue to network, but more than that, it's I think in my head that I just know what's going to happen, that I'm on a specific and a straight path, but the truth is I don't know what the future brings. And for that reason, and one thing Grace and Crossroads has helped me, that my faith journey includes hope. For me, when I'm out of work or unemployed, it brings up all kinds of feelings, not belonging, unworthy, and just not being enough. And it doesn't matter that with today's economy, layoffs are part of every day and impacts everyone, and happens all the time. I still fight those feelings. What I found and what what I found with the Grace, I called them the Grace, the Crossroads small group, the 8-week classes and the networking events, what they did for me, they gave me a focus, they gave me someplace to go, get out of the house or talk on Zoom, people to talk to who are in the same situation, who are open to networking and eager to help. It's good practice to talk to people, to tell your story, and it gets easier as you talk to people. For me, it did. And ultimately, it's your preparation for your interview. So I actually took 2 of the 8-week classes. The first one was in the fall and the second one was in February. I attended the Saturday all-day job search event. I went to the monthly networking speaker events. I practiced interviewing, practiced networking, and I networked. And I really appreciate the volunteers at Crossroads who run the classes, and you've probably seen this too, but they truly care and they're truly focused on helping others. And that was an important learning for me, to remember that I can help others too. And that's most important. For me, it was really important when I was looking for a job. The biggest perk for me was the support in the community. I felt supported and I felt like I belonged. There's a workbook that comes with the class and it gives really good tools, and it contributed to me feeling like I was making progress, moving forward step by step. Had homework, had things that I knew what I could do would make a difference for me. And it reinforced that for me, showing up does matter. So as I said before, it's really scary for me not to know what will happen. And I personally struggled with how and where will I find work. I was almost paralyzed at one point, but by using the tools provided in the workbook and practicing with my peers and people that I met and felt supported, who were all in the same boat. And I also started, because of Crossroads, reading prayers and praying, I can hardly say it, but my confidence level increased. And I started to believe that I'm hireable with my unique skill set and my personality. So also because of the small group class, I started keeping a daily prayer list, and I would pray for each person in my small group class. And it helped me feel connected. And that's just an important piece of community, especially during job search. So my job that I was hired in remotely, it was a really good fit. It just wasn't working the best for me to be at home, working from home all the time. I felt a little bit isolated and I wanted more. So just in August, a few months ago, I updated my resume and I applied for a few positions. And they always say that it's better to find a job when you have a job. And I agree that's the case. But this is the very first time that it happened to me. So I did land a new position in October. And what I would have to say about this time, it felt different. I felt different about the interview. I was positive. I was open to new opportunities. And part of that is that I just felt like I don't know what's in store for myself. God knows what's next, what is next for me. And God knows what the plans are. So as I went to the interview and as I walked out the door, I could just step into the future because I don't get to choose, but God knows what's next. It's my job to look for opportunities as I step into the future. So as I said, I started my new job in October. I go into the office 3 days a week. It's a larger, little more diverse company. And so far it's a really good fit. But now my boss, who is a really good boss, is leaving to go to a different company. So yes, change is constant and you never know where your path will lead. So while I'm not necessarily actively looking, I'm continuing to network because I don't know what's in store for me, but I will keep stepping into the future, into the unknown with hope and faith. So I do want to say I'm happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. or have a network conversation with you by the phone. So I want to thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ruth Bidstone. I'm sorry I mispronounced your name. For some reason, I had in my head Bidstone, and I just messed that up.
We're
I don't
good.
even think I introduced myself, that I'm Tom Jacobson and that I'm that I lead the Woodbury group of Crossroads, and that I just went right into it's. We took a brief month off, and for some reason I lost all my skills as a presenter. So, but thank you, Ruth. What a great story. The idea of actually looking while you were employed, but all the things that you brought into your life while you were in job transition are a great inspiration, and I think a lot of good tools were implemented, and your story is one that I think shows the success if you pull the right strings and do the right things. So thank you for your story tonight. Thank you. Okay, so our next speaker will be Molly Steiner, and I've known Molly a while too, and Molly has just recently started in 2017, started her own business, Talent Acumen. But before that, she's worked with several large companies, including American Express and Ecolabs, on their talent programs and a number of different things. She's a real asset and a resource to all organizations, and especially now in her new role. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Molly Steiner to tell us all about how emotional intelligence can be used in their job search. Molly, it's all yours.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for the kind introduction, and good evening, everyone. I'm just going to get my my slides settled in here. Okay, so Tom gave just a little bit of an introduction, but maybe just a little bit more about my background. I actually started my career 27 years ago, dating myself here, in the IT and management consulting world of all things, but made the move into human resources in the late 90s. And since then have been working in leadership development and assessment coaching roles, doing a lot of work around performance management programs and succession planning. And then, as Tom mentioned, about 5 years ago, I went out on my own and started my own consulting practice, doing this kind of work. And I really, really enjoy it. I have the opportunity to work with organizations of all sizes and across different industries. I really love it. I've been working with this concept of emotional intelligence since, oh gosh, back when I was with American Express, so in the early 2000s. American Express was one of the, I would say, very early adopters of emotional intelligence, just as it was becoming really popular back at that time. So I had the opportunity to begin learning about it back then and applying it in a corporate context. And I do a lot of work with emotional intelligence with my clients today. Okay, so in terms of our agenda for this evening, I'm going to spend the first part of this evening talking about emotional intelligence very broadly, because it's a concept that applies to success, obviously in your work, but to life in general. And so, I'm going to talk about it, broadly for the time being. And then toward the end of my presentation, I'm going to talk about the relevance of emotional intelligence to your job search and give you some tips for building your emotional intelligence. Okay, so what is emotional intelligence? It's not a skill, it's actually a set of skills that establish how well we perceive and express ourselves, how well we're able to develop and maintain relationships, how well we're able to cope with challenges, and use emotional information in an effective and meaningful way. And in a few moments, I'll tell you more about what I mean by that. The concept of emotional intelligence is not new. As far back as the 1930s, researchers were describing what they called at that time something what they described as social intelligence. Since then, there's been a ton of research that's happened. Daniel Goleman, whose name might be familiar to you, really popularized the concept of emotional intelligence back in the late 80s and early 90s. And he was made famous by his book called Emotional Intelligence. Research on, I'm going to start calling it EQ for shorthand here. Research into EQ continues to this day. What it is, the impact that it has, and how it's different from other constructs like IQ and personality. So let's talk about that for a moment. IQ, your IQ is a set of cognitive skills that help us understand how good we are at rational thought, manipulating numbers, thinking logically, things of that nature. Interestingly, research tells us that IQ peaks at around age 17 and then remains relatively static over the rest of your lifetime. And it only predicts, research tells us, about 6% of success in any given job. So it's a fairly weak predictor of job performance. Personality is the construct that's most often confused with emotional intelligence. So your personality are those traits or aspects of you that form your enduring ways of thinking and feeling and behaving. So psychologists refer to these as sort of your strategic or your way of behaving over the long haul. Like EQ, your personality is relatively static over time. So if you are by nature introverted or loyal or outgoing, you're very unlikely to strike out in a brand new direction. And depending on which research study you read, there's a moderate correlation with job performance. Emotional intelligence, by contrast, is a set of dynamic skills, meaning they can be brought into play to different degrees in different situations. And they can be developed with practice and experience and coaching. And interestingly, they're a more reliable predictor of job performance. Again, depending on which research study you read, they estimate that your emotional intelligence can predict anywhere from 27 to 45% of success in any given job. Okay, so there's, I've been alluding to some research that's been done, and some pretty compelling research, actually. And one of my favorite studies shows that people with average IQs outperform those with high IQs 70% of the time. And not surprisingly, it's thought that those traits that are associated with emotional intelligence are responsible for that difference. And when we look at jobs across a variety of industries and sectors, what they find is that people who are high performing, what they tend to have in common, again, are those traits that are associated with emotional intelligence. So it's not surprising that what tends to derail people in their careers is not cognitive capability or technical abilities. It's really those skills that are associated with emotional intelligence. And we're going to talk a lot about those. Okay, so here I want to introduce you to a framework for understanding this concept of emotional intelligence. There are a lot of different models out there that describe emotional intelligence. And I would say for the most part, they describe the same types of skills. They might use different language. Some models go into far greater depth or detail than others. There's no real right or wrong answer to which model you use to understand it, as long as what you're trying to do is just kind of understand what emotional intelligence is, where you have some strengths and where you might have areas that you want to develop. This model, because of its simplicity, I think is really, really great for that. So this model that you're seeing here was developed by Travis Bradbury and Jean Greaves, and is described in their book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. When we get to the end of my slides, I've got a little visual of the book if anybody's interested in picking it up. So just know that that's coming. But as you can see here, it's a model based on a quadrant with 4 distinct skills: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. The top 2 skills, self-awareness and self-management, they characterize as personal competencies, meaning they're inward facing or focused on self. So it's what I understand about myself, how I'm feeling, and using that understanding to direct my behavior and choose my behaviors with intention. Social awareness and relationship management, the bottom 2 skills, are characterized as social competencies. So I think of these as more outward facing or focused on others. What I notice about other people, how they're feeling or behaving, and using my understanding of others to help me build really positive relationships with them. These skills build on each other, meaning that self-awareness is really foundational. And without that solid foundation of self-awareness, it's really difficult to build the other skills. Okay, so now I'm going to go through each one of these individually, go a little bit deeper on what they are, and this is where these the videos come in that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to pause for a moment here. Tom, any questions in the chat thus far?
None thus far.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so self-awareness. Self-awareness is the ability to perceive your emotions in the moment, and that's an important distinction. The cause of those emotions and the impact that they have on your thoughts and actions. As I mentioned just a moment ago, self-awareness is really foundational. If you're not aware of your emotions and how they're impacting your behavior and the impact that that's having on others, it's really, really difficult to build solid relationships with others. I think we can all probably think of someone in our lives, someone we've known, who we would say is lacking in self-awareness. You know, these people who sort of go through their daily lives and are just, they seem oblivious to the impact that they're having on others. So I'm going to pop out of my screen here. And here's where I'm going to flip over to a video. So this concept of self-awareness in this situation, if done well, he would have recognized that this is his emotions are getting out of control. And rather than letting them continue to spiral and exploding, perhaps taking that deep breath, realized that he needed to get himself out of that situation, someplace where he can calm himself down. Okay, so what does it look like when people are really strong or do this skill, this self-management skill effectively? They're able to stay calm under pressure. They resist negative impulses. I think a really an example that we can all relate to with this one is firing off that angry email. You get an email from someone that really makes you mad, and rather than just firing something back, just realizing, okay, I need to just put it away, walk away for a half an hour, rather than just reacting. So people who are strong at this resist those kinds of negative impulses. They handle confrontation effectively. They're really patient listeners, and they're able to remain flexible in changing conditions. Like self-awareness, this can also become an overused skill. So what would it look like if somebody were really strong, almost too strong in self-management? Okay, so I've seen this happen. People who score really high on a skill like this sometimes are, they keep their emotions completely bottled up inside and can come across as emotionless, or that they just don't have a passion. They're not passionate about anything. Okay, now let's go to those outward facing skills, the social competencies, starting with social awareness. So this is the ability to pick up on the emotions of others, understand how they are thinking and feeling, and how that might be impacting their behavior. Okay, so let's go on to our next video. So people who are really socially aware, they're really good active listeners and observers. They're empathic, they're compassionate, they seek to understand how others think and feel, and they're really, really good at reading the room, so picking up on interpersonal and group dynamics. Like self-awareness and self-management, this is also a skill that can be overused. So people who are very strong in this skill sometimes are so focused on others that it's to the detriment of getting results at work or driving results at work. Or they can be sort of self-sacrificing. So focused on the needs of others that it's at the expense of self. All right, let's move on to our last skill, relationship management. So this is the ability to use your self-awareness as well as your awareness of others to manage your interactions with others successfully. As I mentioned in the beginning, these skills really build on each other. So it's really difficult to build really solid relationships with others if you don't have that solid foundation of self-awareness, that you use your knowledge of self to direct your own behaviors effectively, and then stay attuned to the feelings of others. Okay, so we're going to flip over to our last video here. People who are really strong in this skill are open to a lot of different perspectives. They're authentic. They can build relationships with a lot of different kinds of people. And they're very, very good communicators. They're respectful, they're candid, they're sensitive, and they're able to resolve conflict effectively. Again, this can be used, an overused skill. So people who score really high on this skill in an assessment sometimes can come across as inauthentic, almost almost a little bit phony. Also, people who score really high in this can be, I think, so focused on being liked by others that it becomes sort of an obsession, just this like a need to be liked. Okay, so now let's talk about how this concept of emotional intelligence and these specific skills are relevant to a job transition. Job search is really stressful. It just is. I've been through it myself, and so I know. And so I think one of the things that we think about as we talk about emotional intelligence is how you can use it to cope with stress. And so when you're feeling stress, it's important to really to be tuned into that. So using that self-awareness and using that self-awareness to guide your behaviors and choose your behaviors with intention, doing things that help calm yourself. When you don't pay attention to those emotions as they're happening, stress hormones start to build in our bodies, and it just sort of escalates and escalates. So it's important to be attuned to how you're feeling and to choose behaviors that will help you cope. And additionally, to use the relationships that you have, so that relationship management, whether it's your friends, former colleagues, family members, to help you through those difficult times. Relating well in interviews and networking meetings. You only get one chance to make a first impression. I mean, we all know that. And so using your emotional intelligence skills in this context is really important. And many of you probably feel like you've really got this one down. But just keep in mind that when you walk into an interview or a networking meeting, if you're feeling some anxiety and stress, sometimes that can come through and we don't even realize it. And so really remaining self-aware in those situations when you're feeling that, and using that self-management and your relationship skills to help you relate well in your meetings. Staying motivated. This one is certainly easier said than done. The job search process can take a long time, and to be successful in it, you really have to do the work. And staying motivated, especially through long periods of job search, can be really, really challenging. So again, it's using your self-awareness to even recognize that you're feeling a bit demotivated. And then again, that self-management to sort of choose the behaviors that you know will help you move through that. So as an example, if I'm starting to feel really, really frustrated with not making any progress with my job search, doing those things that I know will help keep me motivated, whether that's exercising or reaching out to friends, whatever that might be. Handling rejection and being resilient. This is one of the hardest things about looking for a job, is handling rejection, especially when we get into a rejection from a job that we felt we were really, really well qualified for. But it's important to not take it personally. And so again, sort of using your self-awareness, realizing when you're getting down on yourself, and trying to stay positive, which is certainly easier said than done, but using these skills during those times can really, really help you. So I think I would imagine that throughout your job search and your work with Crossroads, you've been given a lot of strategies to use during your job search, whether that's networking skills or taking a hiatus when you need one, staying organized, being prepared. Those are all wonderful things and very effective things. And what I want to leave you with are a couple of strategies that can help build your EQ during job transition. So the first one is just to pay attention to your emotions. I've been talking about that a lot this evening. You really can't manage your emotions if you're not paying attention to what they are in the moment. So, if you're feeling stressed or demotivated, really be attuned to that. And the more you're doing that, the more you can actually, put behaviors in place that will help you manage those emotions. And pay attention to your self-talk. What do you say to yourself when things aren't going well, or when you get a rejection? And what do you say to yourself when something really good happens? Are you as good at congratulating yourself as you are at beating yourself up when something bad happens? So this one, again, is really about staying positive. Again, easier said than done, but it's really, really important. Have empathy. So you would think that if there's any situation where it's all about you, it would be a job interview, right? But it's actually not the case. Yes, interviewers really, really want to know all about you, but they also want to see how you're going to behave in certain situations. They want to see that you can be sensitive and empathic toward others, because those skills are very, very important in a job setting, especially when you consider a role like sales or service, where you have to be very in tune to the needs of others and tailor products or services to the needs of others. So having that kind of sensitivity can be really critical in a job. And so practicing that in an interview, practicing those skills are really important. And then finally, use your social skills. This is sort of a broad and nebulous topic, but it really kind of comes down to what we learned in kindergarten. Be kind, share, be a good listener, be polite toward others. So it's all those things we learned in kindergarten, and making sure you're practicing those skills in every interaction throughout your day, whether it's a networking meeting, a job interview, or even just day-to-day interactions with friends or family or former colleagues. Practicing those social skills is a really great way to build your emotional intelligence. Okay, so I'm going to open it up for questions here in just a moment, but I, as promised, just wanted to show you the book upon which which is based on the quadrant framework that we've been talking about this evening for emotional intelligence. So this is the book by Travis Bradbury and Jean Greaves. I highly recommend it if you're interested in digging just a little bit deeper into these concepts. It offers a lot of different strategies for building those 4 skills. And at the back of the book, it also provides a link to take a free emotional intelligence assessment. So it's a great way to not only learn more about the model, but to get some feedback on your level of skill for each of those. And so kind of get a sense for where you might have some strengths and where you might have some areas that you want to improve. It's available on Amazon and pretty reasonably priced. It's usually around $12 to $15. All right. Any questions at all?
So Molly, there's been no questions, but people can type them in, and and if you want to read them yourself, or if you want me to read them, I certainly can read them to you, so you can answer them if people will type them in. That is, of course. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I've got the chat up now. If any come up, I can see them.
So Molly, I have a question. When you take the assessment after you read the book or at the end of the book, isn't there at that point you get back some feedback about how well you're scoring, and isn't there an opportunity then to at a later date retake the test and see how working on some of those skills have improved your assessments?
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that, Tom. Yes, there is an opportunity to take it again. And so as with most other assessments, what they recommend is, at least 6 to 8 months out, and that's assuming that you're really kind of actively working on developing something, to retake it at that time to see what kind of progress you may have made. Okay, so let's see. In an interview, you have specific ways you suggest showing empathy if a question doesn't come up in which you can show empathy. If I'm reading that question correctly, Beth, is so if there's not an obvious opportunity in an interview to demonstrate empathy, how can you show it? You know, I think sometimes it can be more subtle. So as you're preparing for an interview, I imagine you're learning about the company, a lot more about the, you know, the job or the job requirements. I think you can demonstrate empathy by making some observations about maybe what's going on in their industry or with their competitors, and saying something like, you know, I read ABC in the news. I can imagine that's very challenging for you as you know, are looking to accomplish whatever it might be. So sort of making the connection between something you've read in the news and what the company is doing, and sort of articulating it in that way, I think can be a way to show empathy, demonstrating that you understand perhaps what their challenges are, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, next one. How are the EQ skills differing from soft skills? That's a great question. I think a lot of times people use soft skills when they're referring to EQ skills. I guess my short answer to that would be, I think for the most part, they're probably describing the same things. I suppose there are probably, if I had some time to think about this, there might be some soft skills that wouldn't be considered in the EQ realm, but just off the top of my head, I can't think of any. But I think generally speaking, to use soft skills as a proxy for EQ skills is probably fair. I was wondering about the assessment. How much is it based on self-assessment versus an objective response? So the assessment in the book is free with the purchase of the book. How much? And it is, yeah, and it is obviously a self-report instrument. So I think, you know, there's always that question of how accurate are the results when it's a self-report instrument. So I would encourage you, you know, if you decide to buy the book and take it, just as with any assessment, just be really as candid as you can in your responses. But certainly that's always a concern when you've got an assessment instrument that's purely self-report. Any tips on improving self-awareness? Yes, and the book is a great resource for this too, but self-awareness, some of it really comes down to, you know, sort of forcing yourself to slow down at times and really take a pause. Asking for feedback from others can be a really effective way. So if, as an example, you've gotten some feedback on some maybe ineffective meeting behaviors in meetings, and you're trying to improve on them, asking for somebody you trust to observe you and give you some feedback can be a great way to build your self-awareness. And then over time, as you build that skill, it becomes, I think, less necessary to do that, but asking for help from others can be really effective. Let's see if there's any more here. These are really great questions. Thank you for submitting these. All right. If there are no others, then I will just thank you very, very much for the opportunity to spend the time with this group tonight, Tom. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for your patience with navigating back and forth between the videos. I hope you enjoyed them. I thought it might be sort of a nice, light and humorous way to present the material. So I hope you enjoyed it.
Well, it was very entertaining. I did appreciate the clips. I mean, I could spent all of them I identified with, so that was nice. So and I think you did a great job of laying out the 4 quadrants and the different components. And really, it was helpful in getting to the point where when you did start presenting regarding what it would mean for me in my job search and transition, I think I was able to apply it effectively. So I hope others also felt that way, because I thought you framed it very well and articulated it extremely well. So thank you. We did certainly our pleasure to have you here tonight. You're a talented speaker, and that it showed through. So thank you. And your experience is definitely helpful in this regard. So we appreciate you being here tonight, and thank you very much. So, okay, so with that, I will start with the what is next and what you can receive through Crossroads free of charge, our resources that are available. Starting with, let me put this into the presentation format. Okay, and show slides. There we go. Okay, so there are 3 sites in which Crossroads resides currently, although we are online exclusively right now. But the 3 locations of Crossroads throughout the Twin Cities are obviously the original site, which is at Grace Church in Eden Prairie. Tonight's the evening seminar that we're hosting is the usual time for the Woodbury Lutheran Church site's presentation. So, and then the 3rd site is at North Hills Lutheran Church in Arden Hills or Roseville area. So, and they're new, so we haven't had many, if any, on-site meetings there, but look for those once we go back to on-site meetings. These are our 3 locations once we're no longer in the online presence only. So the next resource I want to share with you, which where we have many of the things and tools that are available, are at www.minnesotamncrossroads.com, or the abbreviation MN for Minnesota Crossroads.com. So, and on this website, you will find all sorts of things, from job postings to being able to sign up for different interview skill practices, resources and assessments. Anything that you could think of related to job search almost is on this website. So check it out, find the things that are necessary for your transition and your job search, and utilize them. There's many things out there, and like we said, it's free of charge. So certainly take advantage of that. One of the really great things that we have available too is networking with Grace. And you can, it's a group meeting every Thursday, and you sign up online for that particular meeting, and there's a certain number of slots. You'll get a lot of information out of it. It's run by Wes Roper and Wes Tang, the 2 Wes's. They're extremely helpful. There's a lot of information that you will get as a result of that, about how to network, who to network with. The things that they cover during the meeting will be given to you. So certainly check that out. Networking is the key way to getting employed, as we like to say, finding those hidden jobs in the hidden job market. So certainly check out Networking with Grace and the 2 S's, and you can find that on the website and sign up for that. One-on-one coaching. I alluded to this as it relates to interviewing, mock interviews, creating resumes, any number of things that you would imagine in job search that you would need coaching on are available on the website. So just check it out. You can sign up for a resource and they'll get back in touch with you and schedule time for you to go through what you want to go through. So check that out. It can be very valuable and can really help you in improving the things that you want to improve that will help you in your job search and your transition. Throughout transition, we all need a little help, especially spiritually. If you really believe in how prayer can help you, it certainly is available through our website. You can sign up. There are many people who are just waiting to pray with you and for you and help you through your transition. So check out the opportunity to get help through prayer on the website. There it is available. Online classes. Ruth in her testimonial tonight talked a great deal about the 8-week course and the value she found in it and what others find in it. The 8-week course is a wonderful tool. I know Ruth talked about some of the encouragement that she got from the people she was with, the ability to have accountability with different people, teaming together to work together and really focus on accountability and staying positive and really enjoying and working on, let's say, interviewing together. So there are a lot of real value and assets that can be attained through these small group classes. It's an 8-week program that really starts with attitude, works on other assessments, networking, interviewing, how to target companies, how to select companies. These are all skills that you will get from working through the 8-week course. But most importantly, it is a support network, and it really does help you in creating the right attitude and the right mindset for going out there and succeeding in what you want to do and obtaining the job and the career that you want. So I highly recommend, if you're starting job search and you're looking for the right kickstart class, it's really valuable. And I like to think of it as the meat and potatoes of Crossroads. I know that's Harry's catchphrase, but I stole it from him. So please check that out on the website. And classes start every month. They're small groups. They're generally 4 to 6 to 8 people. They can be bigger. They can be smaller. But it's really they're led by coaches who have experienced job search. They have the tools. They know the tools. They can really help you through this process, help you really focus on the things that are necessary for you to be successful in your job search. So the small group classes, the 8-week course, is the way to go, and I highly recommend it. So please check that out. Another resource that we have available, again, these free resources through Crossroads, you will find our LinkedIn group on LinkedIn. All you have to do in the search bar at the top of the page, type in MN Crossroads Career Network and hit enter and search, and it will come up, and there will be that picture of Harry, the owner of the group, right there, so you can see. There'll be what you'll find on here are a lot of tips. There'll be articles, there'll be skills that you will want to, there'll be resources, any number of things. But most importantly, you'll find a network of people. When this screen was captured, it said there was 2,100 people in the network, or members. There's probably a lot more. I think the last time I looked, there was close to 2,400. It is a network of people who have gone through job transition, who really understand and have worked and toiled in it, have been successful, know how to navigate certain things, or learned how to navigate certain things, how to network, search for companies, do all those things. So check out this valuable tool and sign up and work with the people in it to do the things that are necessary for you to be successful in your job search. So if you thought our video was, or our presentation or seminar tonight was valuable, we've captured many of these videos on our YouTube channel, Minnesota Crossroads Career Network on YouTube. You'll be able to see all sorts of things from George Murray, who is the king of networking and who published the book Hired, and is an outstanding speaker. You can check out his presentation on here. Yeah, on next Thursday, you'll see a presentation from Dale Henry on here, but Dale Henry is also doing a live presentation next Thursday morning. That would be the 16th at 7:30 in the morning. So, and his topic will be superpowers, how to extract your superpowers. And he's really talented at that. And I highly recommend him as a speaker. So if you're looking for a seminar for next Thursday morning, check that out. Check out his previous videos, check out George Murray's video, check out any number of these videos. They're very, very helpful, and you'll find a lot of tools there that will be helpful for your job search. Again, totally free. Additional resources. We have been lucky enough to be able to partner with Thrivent throughout, and they have been a big resource to us. They've funded many of the things that are helpful to our members and help us to provide free content and resources and tools. And they have created 3 webinars which air every Tuesday. Check those out on our website. You'll be able to find in their website. You can check it out, but sign up for those because they can be very useful on how to manage the financial components of transition, and it's sometimes very scary, and these seminars can really provide the value that is necessary. So check that out. Another resource, totally free from our Crossroads network. And I alluded to it when we started the seminar, but all this is possible through the volunteers that help out with Crossroads. This is a cross section of 40 people who really have devoted themselves to providing and volunteer giving of themselves. Right in the middle, you can see the 2 Wes's. You can see Harry. Many of the people here have done a great job of providing things that, and we have some of the team leaders for the 8-week courses here. So resources and volunteers, all free from Crossroads. Check it out. And thank you to these people and everyone who's volunteered through Crossroads, as speakers, everybody. It really makes a big difference to us who have been in transition. Many of us have gone through transition once, twice, 3 times, and it can really, mean everything to us while we're in transition. So thanks to all the volunteers who have helped. And let's say you really find the tools that we provided very helpful, but you want more in the way of spiritual help. We have 3 churches which you can find, and those types of things: the Woodbury Lutheran North Heights Church and Grace Church. Check them out. You can check them out on our website. You can check them out on their website. But these 3 churches are our homes for Crossroads, and they have made a big difference in many people's lives. So check out these free resources through Crossroads. And I always like to end with this one. If you're new to Crossroads, but you've signed up already for the seminar, you probably are. We already have captured your information. But if you want to text, go text to this 952-294-0334 number, your first and last name, and you'll be put on our email list so that you don't miss anything from Crossroads. So that is our free resources through Crossroads. I can't stop sharing for some reason. Doesn't want me to. Thank you for being with us tonight. We really do appreciate you attending. Thank you to all the presenters who were here tonight, Molly Steiner, Ruth Vidstone. And if you want to find out more information about either of our speakers, please go to their LinkedIn profiles and connect with them, or check them out. And if you want to connect with them, please do. I'm sure they'd be wanting to take you on their network. Last thing, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a very happy evening and good night.